and productivity.
I don't know if that would improve the
Oh,
morale,
well,
because we're about to consolidate positions, but
Productivity.
affect their morale.
Productivity throughout the organization. And when I met with the board to go over my review, you asked me to look at training programs for our employees and to give them better job skills to serve the public and cope with the demands of their positions. So I wanted to be responsive to that, and I think it is something that I need to personally take a look at in terms of making sure that we have highly trained and motivated employees who can perform a multitude of different jobs and tasks. And so that is an area that I've identified as an objective that I do want to achieve. It's a rolling deadline, so I can't give you a specific time frame on it, but it is something that I do want to do. The next objective is my personal goal, which is to display a more positive demeanor, being more accessible to the public, department heads, and employees, open to new ideas and or suggestions. Again, a rolling schedule throughout the year. The next objective that I've identified is to make our department head meetings more productive. And by doing so, establishing that we have a monthly theme, that we invite in speakers. We hear reports from all of the people around the table about what projects they're working on. Really emphasize that when we get together on a monthly basis, that the purpose of the meetings is to be productive. And as a result of that production, that will then filter down through the staff and the rank and file to our employees. So it's one of the things that I've heard in again, conversations with the board members, that we really need to take advantage of that 2 hours a month that we get together as a group and make it the most productive time that we possibly can. The next goal relates to...
Mr. Prisco?
Greg, when I read this, the one thing that did stick out to me was the personal goal.
Yes, sir.
There not being a personal goal for you. It's actually one of the things that I wanted to bring up tonight, and it was funny that you actually mentioned the objective number 2 to that particular goal. I was going to suggest that you should pull that one out and make that an actual goal. I think it doesn't really belong in there, at least in my opinion. I think you should have a personal goal.
Okay.
And I think that's actually a very good one. It kind of goes along with the feedback that you did get from the review. You know, in more access to the community and really build on the public relations, I think is a very good goal for you. Just a suggestion. I'd like to see it. I don't know how the rest of the board members feel.
I would like to see what your personal goal is, trickle on down to the rest of the employees within Town Hall. So on occasion, and more often than not, and more often than I like to hear it, I hear complaints about the public's reception here in the building, how they
Yep.
are treated, not treated, how attentive or lack of attention is given to them. And again, our people are busy, and but to me, you know, their first and primary responsibility is when someone comes to the counter.
And that would be actually a very good objective.
So I think that
fall
would
under
be,
personal
as
goal.
far as improving employee morale and productivity throughout the organization, I think the responsiveness to the general public as they come into the building or call or whatever it is, you know, needs to constantly be worked on. I mean, overall, our employees do a great job and are very responsive, but there are occasions when I do hear complaints about how people are, you know, are not treated in what they consider to be an appropriate manner, a timely manner, are not approached when they're at the counter, or don't get the answers they're looking for, you know, on the phone. So I think our employees need to be constantly reminded. You know,
I've received the same feedback.
that the perception is very important. You know, that people feel as though at least they're being attended to in a timely fashion. Yes, no?
Oh, I agree, but on the other side of the coin, I came in Friday just on the heels of a gentleman who came in screaming at someone in the treasurer collector's office at that counter as a result of him not being able to renew his Massachusetts driver's license because he had a 1989 excise tax bill that he did not pay, moved out Midwest, came back, and had, when he went to the registry, they told him, well, you have this excise tax bill that was delinquent in '89. He came back in and he lost his mind. So in terms of safety, security issue, you know, certainly one of your other goals and objectives is to get that in the capital item, but also there's two sides to the coin in terms of how responsive our
Sure.
staff is in the approach by certain people that go to the counter too. So it's a two-way street. But have heard similar concerns and complaints from residents about how they're treated when they come in or call in. But they did come in on the heels of that Friday. So they're, on occasion, there's the other side of the coin.
Oh,
They're not coming in
absolutely.
under the best conditions. So,
We try hard to separate the combatants at that point with neutral parties. You know, it's really important that when someone gets hot-tempered, we try to get them away from the counter, much as possible. But I'm glad that you had an opportunity to witness that on Friday.
I
Apologize for
witnessed the
that.
heel, I was on the tail end of that.
Yeah, it was the end.
And people were legitimately upset, bothered by it, and concerned.
Right. And this gentleman
It
couldn't,
shouldn't be how our employees are approached by the general public. It was a two-way street.
Unfortunately, in that particular case, that's been long passed off to the sheriff and has to pay it through a third party. We can't even collect the money, I don't think, from
well, we
him.
told him exactly how much he owed.
Yeah, he didn't,
Yeah, he was not happy.
wasn't happy.
The fifth goal that I've identified relates to the school building project, and that's to provide timely, complete, and accurate information to assist with the management of the project. There are many hands involved in this, as the board knows. However, the objectives that I identified, and really what falls under my responsibility, is to ensure compliance with the procurement and wage laws, and ensure that we have documentation that's maintained for the project, conducting of all bid openings as required by law, and following up actions from those items as they relate with the project manager, architect, and CM at risk. And that involves meeting with these people on occasion. But the primary focus is to make sure the bidding is being done properly, because if there's any place that has the greatest risk, it's the bid process. And the Selectmen 40 knows well, that's where you get your challenges from. And even though we have a CM at risk here, there will be filed subbids that are required. There are 20 or 22 separate trades. That process will take hours to get through those subbids, and there'll be a bid opening here in this room. I think I mentioned to the board, we set a date and a time for bid openings, which is always at noon time here in this office. And then we had a bid opening for the electrical contractor, and I came to find out that it was at 2 o'clock at the middle school, right after we had the conversation that they would be here at noon time. So the good news is that was a small piece of the project, and there was someone that was there, but the intent is to make sure that in the future, all of these things get consolidated through this office. The other item that I am involved in firsthand, that I've identified as an objective, is to review and approve the change orders, MSBA reimbursement requests, and to really be abreast of the project schedule. Although my role in approving is based upon the actions of the building committee, but I do have to sign off on these things. And I've, again, worked with our project manager to emphasize upon him that the procedure that needs to be followed is first has to go to the building committee before it comes to me. And I think he's beginning to understand that process a little
I
bit better
agree.
now. It really needs to be presented to the building committee, vetted through the building committee, and then come to me.
You are a member of the building committee, correct?
I am. But I am the one who actually has to sign these documents, and I want to do it after the building committee's had an ample opportunity to review these things top to bottom. This,
Mr. Prisco?
In that particular goal, I didn't notice anything in the objectives related to financial. Is that on purpose? Are you just not gonna be really overseeing or being involved in the actual financing, making sure the bills are getting paid, that we're getting the reimbursements on time, that we're staying within budgets, sort of the whole financial process behind the scenes?
involved, but not involved in actually filing the paperwork for the project. That
Yeah, I
falls
would
under the
understand
committee
that.
right now.
I was just curious why, but you were gonna have some kind of oversight, I would assume.
Yeah. Presently, as I understand, the building committee is assuming that responsibility in terms of preparing the documentation through our architect. It's then handed off to our project manager, who goes out and gets signatures. And again, the process is similar, that comes to me ultimately to be signed off at some point.
Yeah. I was more looking at it from a top-level perspective, that you'd only maybe once a month, look at some of the financials associated with the
Yeah.
overall project.
I would
So
do,
I would feel more comfortable if your objective had something, one, at least add, maybe even adding a new objective associated with some fiduciary responsibility to the project. It's up to you. I'm just saying that's my personal opinion. I'm not speaking on behalf of the board, of course.
I actually look at the primary responsibility for the reviewing of the finances resting with our finance director. And it's one of the goals that I gave her in my conversation is to maintain hands-on responsibility for making sure that all of the bills go through the pipeline on a timely basis. However, that's something that I can have a discussion with her about and make sure that it does work its way up to the top of the list. Questions? Thoughts? The sixth goal that I've identified is to assess the steps necessary to roll out our fire ALS program and to present actions for October town meeting. And the objective is narrow in the sense that we need to review our ambulance revenues at the 6-month point and make recommendations to expand the ALS service to better serve the community based upon available revenues that we have. It's really critical that we look at additional staffing in that department. It's important that we be prepared to do so and prepared to take actions at October town meeting associated with that.
Thank you.
Questions?
Comments?
One overall comment on it. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to look at this till over the weekend, so I didn't send this comment to you. But I would like to have a review, just a quick one-page summary, maybe at our next meeting, of your goals from last year, and sort of how you think you did, you know, where you ended up on your goals.
Okay.
And I think next year going forward, when you do this, it'd be good to bring these goals in again initially, before you start this discussion, to say, okay, this is my goals from last year, this is how we ended up, now here's my goals for the next coming year, this is where I'd like to go. I think it would want to be beneficial for any new selectman on the board to know what your goals were, to kind of have an idea of what you've achieved and where we're gonna go.
Okay.
So
I mean,
if it's.
I would hope that that process would take place as part of my annual review, which was just completed by the board. And, you know, it's a 28-page performance review already, Michael, and I have no desire to make it a 31-page performance review. But if the board wishes to go through that process, we can go through that process too.
I'm just saying what I want, I'm not speaking
Thanks.
again on the board.
Well, I think as we annually look at our own goals and objectives, I mean, obviously this should be dovetailing with the administration's. So as we go through that exercise, maybe that's the appropriate time to do it. I don't disagree that maybe take a look and compare, you know, what fell off, what fell on, and how come things didn't occur. But I think, you know, as we do our own goals and objectives on an annual basis, and review the past year, just dovetail it with this type of a document, which you had last year. And how did we do?
Because the performance evaluation doesn't take into account all these goals. All the goals from last year, they don't.
Well, I think it impacts the review, though.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, it does, but I don't think we did that.
No.
I remember us pulling it
No,
out
no,
and
it's-
saying,
no,
let's
it's-
review his goals and then integrate it into his evaluation. At least I didn't do it. I know that. I wasn't asked to do it, and I should have, but I
Yeah,
didn't.
You're right, but I think indirectly it's done that way, but I think you're making a good point that should probably consider.
But I think as
Part of our-
we have our own little
Yeah,
get-together
which-
to
which
go
we
over
do
that,
have
that would be
anytime.
an appropriate time to look at the whole picture. Because, you know, these should be incorporated as part of, as we're endorsing this.
Oh, yeah,
These should be
absolutely.
incorporated as part of ours,
Absolutely.
to assist the administration in
I agree.
achieving these goals. So,
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Greg, had you completed your town administrator's report? I think you had.
I had,
Yeah.
there are only 2 items I wish to discuss in the executive session.
Gets us to old and new business. I guess I'll start with Mr. Prisco.
I think he's got one more thing.
Oh,
Um,
sorry, one moment.
I think I had announced through the newspaper that we did have made a couple of appointments in the police department, and I touched upon them earlier under my goals and objectives, that Thomas Romeo was appointed as our new detective lieutenant on an acting basis. And Thomas Encarnacio has been appointed as our acting sergeant.